it so bright in here? Oh god. This lighting is gonna do my head in. I don't know if I hate this lighting. It's just... Okay. Hey guys, I just wanted to come on and make this video because I've had a few friends in my life ask me about this kind of process that I went through. So I figured what better way to answer the question than just to get it in a video. Starting out this video, I just want to be clear, this is not financial advice. I'm not an accountant or any kind of financial advisor. This is just kind of my story. The process of building my house started back in 2020. Pretty lucky that my parents were always pretty strict on me having savings. Even back when I got my first job at 14, I always had to put a little bit away into my savings every time I got paid. Got to 2020 and I had a little bit of savings. I wouldn't say a lot, but I had enough to kind of get my foot in the door, literally. And I started going around and looking at display homes, and I went literally across the entire state. And I would really recommend doing this because it gives you an idea of what a builder can offer you, what their kind of style is, and if that fits with your style and your needs. I'd also kind of recommend taking down a list of the things that you like in properties, things that you don't like in properties. So after I'd looked at a couple of houses, I kind of decided on my builder, and that was based on both the kind of houses that they were putting out in display homes and what I liked about them, and also the price range of the houses that they were offering. After I had chosen my builder, I went into one of the display homes and spoke to one of their sales representatives, and she set me up with their financial team. Going through the brokers, especially the brokers that the builders recommend, can often get you some really good deals and save you a lot of money because they offer kind of incentives to go with their own company. I sat down with their broker and we kind of fleshed out sort of a plan. It basically just goes over your income and your assets and kind of any kind of expenses and requirements in your life. It's pretty similar to what you would have to do if you've ever had to organize a rental agreement and they put like your income and your expenses. From that, the brokers tell you what you can afford to borrow. The other thing you want to look at when you're looking into your financials at the start of the process is any grants that you're eligible for. At the time when I built, there was a lot of grants going around. They were really trying to encourage people to build new homes. At the moment, I know that the first home buyers grant, which is $15,000, is still available to all. At the time when I built, there was another $25,000 landowners grant. I was eligible for both of those and I got both of those. The $15,000 was put straight towards my mortgage. I didn't even see that money. It went towards my deposit as well, which significantly decreased the deposit that I needed. So yeah, make the most of those grants because they are available and it's money that you just don't need to be spending if you can avoid it. So once I'd kind of got a bit of an idea of my budget, I went back to the sales rep from the display homes and sort of sat down with her, and she flicked through. Each builder has these humongous big magazines of like floor plans and things. My house floor plan is actually a custom floor plan, but it is heavily based off of one of my builder's pre-designed layouts. I would be really picky about this because if you're going to be living in this house for any period of time, it's important that it works for you and it makes sense and the floor plan kind of works with your lifestyle. It's also something that you can't easily change afterwards. So yeah, once I had that kind of in my head, I went back to the builder and we sat down and we literally printed out some floor plans that I liked, and I just sketched on the paper the changes that I'd like to make. Once I decided on my floor plan, they kind of send that off to their engineers to just make sure that it's doable. This is also the point where all of your choices for your frontage and the building materials used on the frontage are chosen. Any kind of like gable windows. They don't really make it clear that after this point, when you've signed off on your floor plan, you can't really go back and make a whole lot of changes to your frontage, because selections are all very like internal house design selections, not really external stuff. These kind of things also have to get sent off to the council that you're building in. They have this team that will look at every new build in their council area. They have a list of things called encumbrances that you have to meet, which is basically just a list of requirements for that council area at that time. For example, where I built, it was a minimum of 3 building materials on the frontage, so you couldn't just have a brick face house with no kind of features or aesthetic elements. My laneway, they had an encumbrance that every house had to have a portico, which is like a pergola but raised. I think they're really not not aesthetically pleasing, not my favorite at all. So I extended my patio out and kind of asked the council, because I'd made other upgrades to the house, they were okay with that. So even though the council may have their set rules for their encumbrances, don't be afraid to ask the question if there is something specifically that you want. Use Pinterest for this as well. I cannot tell you how many Pinterest boards I had going of like house frontages and interiors and all sorts of design elements that I liked. So after I had my floor plan and my kind of frontages nailed down with the builder, I started looking for land. I kind of knew the area that I wanted to build in, and that was just because of location being convenient for me in my life. It was close enough to my family, and also at the time I was just finished uni and started a job, so it was reasonably close to my job. But yeah, it depends on your circumstances and obviously your price range as well. We'll come into that. Once you have got your land, mine wasn't privately owned, it was council land. So I went into their kind of showroom and spoke to the sales reps about that and got the contracts sort of drawn up for pre-approval there. Once I'd signed all the contracts and put down a deposit on the land, I did have to organise conveyancers to come out and organise all the legals. So they came and drew up the contracts and made sure that it was all kind of legally binding and everything. And that does cost money. But for me, at least, that money was put straight onto my mortgage, so I didn't have to pay for anything out of pocket. So because I sourced my own land, I then went back to my builder and kind of let them know that that's what I was doing. And they almost made a kind of house and land package without it being a house and land package. A lot of the time, their fixed price house and land packages have very minimal inclusions. And a lot of things like you need, like flooring, won't be included in that price. A lot of the prices aren't really set in stone until the very end of the process. There are some things in the budget that are just out of your control, like footings, for example. There will be someone that comes out to the land that you choose and tests the soil of that land and lets the builders know what kind of footings they're going to need to put in. And depending on the land that you have and the soil that that land is on, it can really, really drastically change the price of your build. So obviously at this point, I've kind of worked with the broker to get pre-approval for my mortgage. That process is a lot of just paperwork, identification. Some brokers will ask you to do a 3-month kind of saving plan. A lot of that is just restricting your spending on unnecessary things. It shows that you're not going to default on loans or anything like that. It also means that when you have to submit a copy of your bank statements, it all looks nice and squeaky clean for them to look over, and there's not any random expenses that aren't really justified in your budget that you provide. So once you have all of those things sorted out with the builder, you have your land, you've chosen your floor plan and your frontage, that'll get sent off to create master plans. Every time they have to redraw these master plans for you, it will cost you money, so make sure that you're really clear with the sales assistant when they're organising all of this. Make sure it looks exactly the way that you want it before they even send it to get the master plans drawn up, because I think it's about $750 every time you need to go get those master plans redrawn. At this point, I would start kind of getting an idea of what the inside of your house you want that to look like. So Pinterest boards, again, are a huge lifesaver. I still have a bunch of Pinterest boards, which I can link in the description if you're interested in my kind of style. If you want to go get an idea of what is available for free and what is an upgrade with that builder, you're always welcome to go and have a look at their selections building anytime you want, even without an appointment. When you do your final selections for your house, you will have an appointment and you'll have an assistant with you to kind of help make decisions. Once you finally have your selections appointment, it'll be a pretty full-on and long day. I know some people have struggled to even get it done in a full session, and the sessions are about 4 hours from memory. But I managed to get mine done all in one session, and I think that's probably because I'd been to the selection centre 2 or 3 times before my selections appointment. This is also where you need to choose any upgrades that you have. I'd recommend being a bit careful with these upgrades. Anything you think you can do cheaper after handover, try to do that yourself, because obviously the builder's going to charge a premium for the ease of just having that done for you in the build process. I chose a lot of my upgrades in the bathroom and the kitchens, because that's kind of going to help keep my house value pretty high for reselling in the future. There are a lot of other upgrades that you don't even think should be upgrades. Like, for example, I don't know if you can see in this video, I don't think you can, but my skirtings and cornices are white instead of the color of the wall. That cost me $500 extra. I remember debating whether or not that was worth it, but because I wanted quite dark grey coloured walls, I didn't think that skirtings and cornices in grey would make any sense. It also means that when I paint in the future, I don't have to paint those white if I want to make any changes. So yeah, it was worth it to me to have that upgrade just done when I move in, because it would be something that I could do myself, but it would be a lot of time and effort and energy. So at the end of your selections appointment, the associate will set out all of your selections on a big desk and let you take lots of photos and make sure you're happy with everything. After the appointment and everything's settled, they will send you an email with a big PDF document of all the selections that you made. Make sure you keep this until after handover in case anything isn't done correctly according to what you asked for. I lived pretty close to where my house was being built, so I was here like most of the time, almost every day. Once the build actually started, I was just popping my head in and seeing what was going on. It's a lot of just waiting around and staring at a blank piece of land, so don't expect it to go up overnight. Once the build started, the builder provided me with a kind of checklist. Every time a new step was checked off on my build, it would just get a little tick in each box, so I kind of knew where my build was at, even if I wasn't able to go and see the land. So with my build, I thought I'd talk about just a couple things I regret or that I would have done differently. Before you get the keys to your home, they do what's called a pre-handover inspection, which is a chance for you to walk through with the site supervisor and just point out any imperfections or anything that's not done correctly. One thing I regret is not being pickier with that inspection process. And like I said with a volume builder, they're pretty good at just getting things fixed. So yeah, make sure that you're looking for any of those kind of defects and imperfections and you point them out on that inspection day. Once you get the keys, my builder had a 6-month maintenance period. So in that first 6 months that you were living in the house, it gave you a chance to document anything that wasn't working, you weren't happy with, wasn't how you expected it to be. They gave you the option to submit a maintenance request, and at no cost to you, they would send their trades and handy people to kind of fix any of those issues, which I used a number of times over that 6 months. I had a couple issues, nothing too major, but just mostly aesthetic things that they just came down and fixed up for me. One other thing that I do regret about this house is not thinking about the natural light that's going to be coming into it. And when I say that, I did think about the natural light. What I didn't think about was the house that my neighbours built 2 meters from my bedroom window. So in my head when building the house, my bedrooms on the northern side of the house should be the most full sun area in the whole building. But because of the colourblind fence and the neighbour's house, I really get no natural light into my bedroom. I'm looking at putting in a skylight to fix that issue, but it's just more money that I probably wouldn't have had to spend if I'd have thought about that and possibly flipped the house plan or fixed it in some other way. Apart from that, I think that's pretty much all the questions that I had to answer. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. I occasionally post videos when I remember. I'm gonna try and get a bit more consistent posting videos on here because I do really enjoy it and I have just not had time or energy to get it done. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments below. Any video ideas as well would be awesome. I have a couple in mind, so stay tuned for those. If you've come this far, thank you for listening to me waffle on, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.